Welcome to a special NFL mock draft edition of the Sports Lounge, number 65. I am Travis Kriens. We have Clemson over here. Very good shirt. It's a big time show, so you break out the good clothes. Marcus, we got Charlie Hildebrand, Marcus Straxer, nice drapery, David Schottenkirk, and pending internet connection, Nathan Stacken will be joining us shortly here. We're going to do the entire first round of the NFL draft coming up on Thursday. So 4 days until the first round of the draft. Each of us have, 5 picks here in the first round. Each of us have 6 picks here in the first round. And a couple guys, David, he has 7. Nathan has 7, as they'll be picking for Denver and Seattle at the end of the first round here. Looking for accuracy, looking to see what these teams will do, trying to see how close we can get to actually getting some of these picks right. Very difficult to do. Last year may have gotten 3 right at the most. Nathan got like the first 5 or 6, which was tremendous. So very, very difficult to get any, even more than 2 or 3 picks exactly right in the first round. So before we start, any draft day memories, or do you remember your first time watching the NFL draft?
I remember mine. It was the '98 draft where everyone was saying who's better between Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. And I remember multiple guys saying Peyton Manning's going to come in and he's going to be better for the first 4 or 5 years. But once Ryan Leaf gets things figured out, he's going to be even better than Peyton. And obviously it did not work out that way.
I think the 1998 draft would be the first one I remember, and that whole debate, and the Vikings taking some guy named Randy Moss out of Marshall, and nobody really knew who he was, and he brought some baggage, and it obviously worked out for the Vikings. And 2000, was that the Demetrius Underwood draft?
Yeah, 99 or 2000, yeah.
2000. And that really began a string of just weird drafts where we mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned it, I think, before the show, of the Vikings, missing their picks a couple years in a row in the first round, and just all kinds of weird things happening for at least 6 or 7 years.
Mr. Schottenkirk, mine was the 98 draft as well.
I think we're all in the same boat then. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, Randy Moss falling, I was 10 and a half years old. I knew a little bit about him, and fairly excited that he ended up going to the Vikings. That worked out pretty well. Anything that you've learned since you've all remembered the 98 draft? This will be, 16 drafts that we've remembered and watched. Anything that you have picked up on? Because the thing that I picked up on is that usually these guys aren't worth a damn. First pick, second pick, 5th pick, 20th pick. If you have any doubts, go, the guy ain't going to turn out to be shit. So that's what I've learned in 15 years.
It's certainly a crapshoot. I mean, if you would consider some guy starting for 2 years and being extremely mediocre as a good pick, you could basically say half the guys in the first round are good and half are bad. And that's being very, very lenient and forgiving with the term good. There will probably be 5 to 10 guys drafted in the first round that'll be fairly good long term, and the rest of them will be either mediocre or busts, because that's just kind of the nature of this.
I just look at it. I have Minnesota at number 8 in this little mock draft. I've sort of outlined 7 guys that I think the Vikings could take, and all of them seem to be guys that could have decent careers. They could be craptastic. So it's you don't really know. I mean, you know that the guy was a good player in college and that he has the potential to be at least decent in the NFL, but there's no guarantee any of these guys are going to turn out.
You've got the Vikings taking Logan Thomas out of Virginia Tech, right?
He's on the list here, yeah. People to take.
Boy.
Nathan Stacken?
Yes.
Your first NFL draft that you remember.
First vivid one was the 98 draft with Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, and that whole
All 5 of us.
That's 5 for 5.
That's what we all said.
By the way, I would like to point out I just got back from the city, so I do not know the Wild score. Please don't mention them during this telecast.
We will not mention the game. We will not mention anything. Just know that the most goals scored ever. It was 15 to 14.
Oh my goodness, that beats an all-star game.
It was unbelievable. There were 7 hat tricks. Even though that math really does not add up at all. So,
actually, it does.
Well, actually, yeah, there were 31 goals and 21 guys had them. So.
And three goalies scored also.
Yeah.
Wow, that's big. That's big.
So, anyways, I've got the first pick here. We're going in an order. Marcus Traxler came up with the idea of if you have the first pick of Cleveland, you should probably get the second pick of Cleveland. If you have the first St. Louis pick, you get the second St. Louis pick. So that's the way it will go. And David is picking 31 for Denver, and Nathan is picking 32 for Seattle. So they'll have one more pick than everybody else. I started off with Houston. I've got them taking Jadeveon Clowney, defensive end South Carolina. That seems to be the consensus. That there's no they need a quarterback. There's no quarterback worthy of the first pick, they feel. So Clowney is the guy. From there it goes David, Marcus, Charlie, and Nathan. We'll all make a pick. Then we'll all take a recap of our 5 picks. David Schottenkirk, who does St. Louis take at number 2? This is a first-round pick they got from Washington from the RG3 trade 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, it came down to 2 guys for me, and actually had quite a difficult decision to make. I went offensive tackle, Greg Robinson out of Auburn. I was really thinking about getting with Samuel Watkins here. Just couldn't do it. And he needed help for Bradford if he's their guy, which he might not be anyways. But Robinson's a hell of a run blocker, still developing the pass blocking area. But I think he could be all pro guy down the line. And he's has a prototypical size for a left hander. So Greg Robinson, Auburn.
Marcus at 3, you have your hometown Jaguars. Who do they pick?
That is my hometown team. I also had Greg Robinson on the list, but I figured that he would be taken by St. Louis at number 2. And so for me, I mean, they could take Johnny Manziel. This is really the first opening after Houston where they could be in the market for a quarterback. Their GM, myself, has said that Johnny Manziel is the most pro-ready quarterback in the draft. We know that we shouldn't believe anything a GM says. And I just can't see them. I think Khalil Mack would work fine, would work really well in Gus Bradley's defense, but I have them taking Sammy Watkins, wide receiver Clemson.
The first Clemson player off the board. No surprise there. We'll go to the guy in the Clemson shirt, Charlie Hildebrand. Give us what Cleveland does here at 4.
Well, I was looking at it, and since I've got both of them, I mean, I realize we're supposed to do this what we think they will do, and I think they might do this. I don't know. I'm not taking a quarterback, though. I think they can get a quarterback either at 26 or with the 3rd overall pick in the 2nd round. I think there will be plenty of guys there for Cleveland. I was looking at either Robinson or Watkins. They were both taken already, so I'm going with Jake Matthews. Because they've already got Joe Thomas at left tackle, so what's the best thing you can do is to get another good offensive lineman to put it right tackle to make sure whoever you end up drafting at quarterback has 2 great bookend tackles to hold up in the AFC North.
Okay, just one thing to say. I was going to live tweet this, but we're going way too fast.
Well, we'll take a break after 5 picks, and we can do something there maybe.
All right.
So we have a couple of offensive tackles taken here early on. Only one offensive skill player, Nathan Stacken. Oakland Raiders are up at 5.
Well,
Who the hell knows what Oakland's going to do?
They really want to get. They really would have liked to see Sammy Watkins fall to them at 5, help give the offense a little bit more kick and some flair. This could be a spot where you could see Johnny Football go, but this is where his career would end, virtually, because all careers end in Oakland. for these star players. So I can't believe he's still around this far in, but how do you not take Khalil Mack at this point, the linebacker, defensive end from Buffalo?
Khalil Mack goes to Buffalo or goes from Buffalo to Oakland at number 5, a small school. Recap of the first 5 picks here. I believe the stat on Oakland is like they have 1 starter left. I don't think it's their entire team. Maybe like their defense from last year. So Mack would definitely start for them. Any surprises from those first 5 picks? Because there seems to be probably consensus that in some order, 4 of the 5 guys mentioned already will fall somewhere in the first 5 picks.
The biggest surprise probably Mac Ball. I don't think he gets past 3 at Jacksonville. I think he might even go 2 at St. Louis. I thought about him there, but if he gets to 5, Oakland's going to run the podium and drag him.
The reason I skipped Mac at 3 is simply because Justin Blackman isn't probably not going to play this year still. They're not really counting on him.
Yeah.
So you look at Jacksonville, still pretty undecided at running back. Quarterback is up in the air, depending on how much you believe in Blaine Gabbert still. Is he even up there yet? I don't even know. Okay.
Blaine Gabbert is in San Francisco right now.
Oh, damn it, he is. Boy. He's going to flourish.
Yeah.
Anyway, their quarterback situation is not real settled. And so I think they do need a wide receiver. They need some sort of offense. And I feel like Gus Bradley's good enough where he could find a solid linebacker, although maybe not a Khalil Mack later in the draft.
And then maybe that is the biggest surprise out of the top 5 picks is that you have these quarterback-needy teams who don't go after a Johnny Manziel, a Blake Bortles. So maybe that's the surprise is the name that wasn't picked in the first 5.
And I think one of the interesting things, too, that Traxler kind of pointed at is that, the Texans and the Rams are picking the first 2, but they've got a lot of spots they're pretty set at, and they've got talented guys, where the Jaguars at 3 are the first team that could literally take almost anybody at any spot. Where usually it's the team picking first overall that could take anybody at any spot.
Mm-hmm. I've got Atlanta now at 6. I had them taking either Robinson or Matthews, whatever tackle fell. Neither of them fell, as Marcus Traxler has something pulled up here.
I don't know if you guys can see that. That is our draft so far.
There we go.
That looks
Nice.
That looks very good.
And
So,
those are ESPN's top 5 guys, it looks like. So, good job.
terrific.
Or maybe bad job. We'll see.
Exactly.
So because of the tackles already taken, I'm going to take another tackle. Taylor Lewin, the guy from Michigan. Probably a lot earlier than he should be picked, but because Atlanta are looking for either Robinson or Matthews, and both of those guys have been picked thus far, I'm going to keep them taking the next best tackle prospect. Lewin from Michigan. That'll bring up Tampa Bay at number 7. David, Tampa Bay, what do they do?
This is how it plays out. I think they go a quarterback. 2 guys, both men down, either Mike Evans, Johnny Manziel. I thought would be one of the 2 guys here. Manziel's still on the board. I think Lovey's going to want a guy down there that he can cultivate and have as his. Might be a bit of wild card for his liking, but I think they take Johnny Manziel at this spot.
Johnny Manziel, 7 to Tampa Bay. Now we go to Marcus Traxler. Minnesota, not a team you know a whole lot about, not a team that you really follow a whole lot. What would you think they would do if it comes out this way?
If it comes out this way, I don't know. Something makes me think that they do really like Blake Bortles.
What about Blake Bortles do they like?
I would say the big arm and all that. Now, I know that David was one of the first people on Teddy Bridgewater. I've come around to. I mean, of all the quarterbacks in this draft, he seems to be the one who has, the best head on his shoulders. he's certainly ready for an NFL team. He's a little undersized, but I mean Manziel just went, and that's the same thing with him. So if I were to take a quarterback here, I think I would take Bridgewater. I wouldn't take Bortles. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Derek Carr is in the conversation here too, according to some people. I can't do that, so I've narrowed it down to either Anthony Barr or C.J. Mosley, and I'll just stick with the Anthony Barr pick that we've tossed around on this show and others for a while. So Anthony Barr, linebacker, UCLA, is the pick for the Vikings. And my thinking is that, you know, if the Vikings really want to, they could move back into the first round and maybe get a quarterback still, or wait it out.
Yeah, we're doing this with like no trades, right? If it was just strictly the order.
Yep.
If there's some pick of mine you want stacking, you can give me money for it, and I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I would. I'm not opposed. If my man Manziel's not there at 8, I'm not opposed to Minnesota trading down, because you know how I love to get multiple first-round picks. Get as many as you can. After that, I really don't care who you pick, but to get as many as those top 30 players as you can. Charlie Hildebrand, your rival, the Buffalo Bills. Are you going to set them back 10 years? Or are they going to?
I'm going to try to give them something that would actually help them out some. I'm not picking Logan Thomas for the Bills. They could use help in a lot of spots. I think E.J. Manuel, I don't know if he's going to be great. He could be good. He needs help around him. I would say, you know, a lot of people like the North Carolina tight end, Ebron. Maybe, personally, I think I would go with Mike Evans out of A&M, though. He's a big guy. Put him opposite, I'm blanking on the Buffalo receiver's name, Stevie Nicks. However long Nicks is going to be there.
Steve Johnson.
Or Johnson. That's right, Stevie Johnson. However long he's going to be there, you know, I don't know how much longer he will, but to have both those guys there, having two good receivers is always going to help out a young quarterback.
So,
and you know what? If he can make Johnny Manziel look really great, he can probably help E.J. Manuel look better too.
So this Evans going number 9 to Buffalo means that Stacken's original choice of Evans going 10 to Detroit isn't going to happen. Am I correct in that you had Evans slated with Detroit based on your reaction to his pick?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The Detroit War Room right now is in a state of shock right now. Really thought that we could get Evans to us at 10 with the way this was going. Thought Buffalo had far more pressing needs. So we're disappointed in the Bills' selection, but we have our own issues in the secondary, so ha-ha to Buffalo. We'll take ha-ha Clinton-Dix from Alabama.
What's his 3-cone time?
Couldn't tell you. But all I know is he's got a great name.
One of the best name of the draft. Safety Clinton-Dix can play some corner as well. Going maybe a little bit higher than people have him slated right now. As you take a look at that second 5 there, Lewin to Atlanta, Manziel to Tampa, Anthony Barr, linebacker to Minnesota, Evans, number 9 to Buffalo, Clinton-Dix to Detroit, Manziel goes to Tampa Bay at 7. As Traxler has our updated mock draft up right there. Do you think that works out? Manziel, Tampa Bay, Lovie Smith.
And you could. We'll certainly have to find out what Drew thinks about that later. Get his thoughts.
That was a big factor as to why I took him. So that's what Drew says. He's got him now in this mock situation.
There's been increasing talk about Lovie Smith and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really liking Johnny Manziel there. I don't think they would go after Bortles or Derek Carr, anyone like that. It seems like they want Manziel.
I really like the idea of a new coach having a quarterback to work with from scratch. I think Johnny Manziel would fit in pretty well at Tampa Bay, and they'd give him some options. I think it would work out fine. And I think if Lovie Smith is kind of willing to turn the keys of the offense over to Johnny Manziel, I think it'll work. If there's some sort of power struggle between the coaches and Manziel, that's not going to work out very well.
You know, and just in regards to the 10 picks we've done so far, one thing I like about this is it seems like all of them, for the most part, make sense. Now, will it shake out this way? Probably not, because there's always something different. But, you know, there's nothing really crazy. And, you know, there's some guys that, you know, are slotted to go 5 or 10 spots lower, but they're going to a team with a position of need to help them out. So I guess I'm saying that I feel like we're doing a good job through the first 10. But it's after this where it starts to turn into a real crapshoot.
Let's go to, well, first off, what does this do to Mike Glennon? Didn't like him last year coming out of NC State, picking him up in the middle rounds and think he was worth a damn. What does this do with him? Does this basically throw the competition up in the air or the best man win?
Yeah, probably, because they brought in Josh McCown, too, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yep.
that job's going to be wide open if they take Manziel here. But Glennon, in my opinion, if they take Manziel, he's out of the picture. He's probably just going to keep their backup job.
Let's go to Marcus Traxler. He's got the big board up there. Best player available. Who's the best player we got left?
I would say Justin Gilbert's probably the best player left on that board. Cornerback, Oklahoma State. Just from a Vikings perspective, I was looking at him. I think just because they drafted a corner and a safety the year before, I shied away from that. But in the NFC North, that's obviously a position that you would need. A lot of good players out there. A lot of people like Aaron Donald of Pittsburgh. They're in the middle. Charlie mentioned the tight end out of North Carolina, Ebron, and I would imagine that in the next 5 picks or so, we could see Ebron come off the board as well. And I've been a big fan of C.J. Mosley and Arquise Dennard, and I would imagine those guys come off pretty quickly. I mean, you look at Tennessee; they are a team that would be in need of a quarterback. So Kriens is the one who has that pick. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm taking Gilbert, just to let everybody know.
Okay.
But we're going to have Sal Palantonio from Philadelphia quite soon, and Ed Werder from North Dallas. He'll be checking in quite regularly throughout the program. But when you look at that list of players there, how is that just a random list, or are they ranked a certain way? Because Ebron's like in the top 7 or 8. That doesn't make a lot of sense. How are they rated there?
It's overall value for their mock drafting guys there at ESPN. So Ebron is that high.
This appears to be their Scouts Inc. Todd McShay rating that has him ranked this way. So yeah, you look at the guys that are furthest to the left in that column: Ebron, Aaron Donald, Blake Bortles, Morgan Moses, and C.J. Mosley. Your top 5 still left. Obviously, the Vikings, based on this, reached quite a bit for Anthony Barr. I don't know. I guess that's on me.
It's not a huge reach. I see a lot of guys taking Barr 11 at Tennessee. So
I've got the Tennessee Titans at 11. They'll take Justin Gilbert, cornerback, Oklahoma State. Marcus, you've got the Giants here at 12.
I do, and you know, Ebron is a guy that they could certainly use, a tight end there. I also had flagged Lewan from Michigan. Obviously, he went much earlier than I think a lot of people have expected. Zach Martin, a guy from Notre Dame at tackle. So I feel like that's something they could use. But if history tells us anything about the Giants, they love taking defensive linemen. They're going to take Aaron Donald, defensive tackle from Pitt, at number 12.
David, we went out of order here because the Rams picked 13, so we give you the first Rams pick and the second Rams pick. And the first pick, you have been taking Greg Robinson, the tackle from Auburn, who they take here in their original pick in the first round.
Here at 13, they still need a receiver. They got Tavon Austin last year. I think they could go there, take the best receiver available, Odell Beckham Jr. or something like that. I have them taking Calvin Pryor as safety in Louisville, though. Best safety on the board. Clinton-Dix is still on the board. That's what my pick would have been. But Calvin Pryor alongside in that defense, up and coming. Jeff Fisher's got something in the works, so they're going to be pretty good real quick.
Charlie, he's got Chicago at 14. We've had quite the run of defensive players here. A couple secondary guys, 3 secondary guys, and the D tackle from Pittsburgh. Charlie, last guy to take an offensive guy. That was Evans at 9 with Buffalo. Are going to take another offensive guy here with Chicago at 14.
Nope, keeping the run on the defense going. Chicago needs a lot of help defensively. If I would have had them taking Donald out of Pittsburgh, obviously that's not an option now. So to keep it in Big Ten territory, they could use some defensive backs. I give them Darquez Denard, really good in the Big Ten, physical guy. The Bears aren't always physical, but stereotypically you look at him as a physical defense. If you get a physical corner, that can help. He's great in coverage. I don't think he's the sexiest cornerback pick, but he's certainly a guy that's probably the safest one and will probably still be playing 10 years from now outside of, an injury or something like that.
Darquez Denard, cornerback, Michigan State. Plenty of receivers for him to cover in his division. Nathan Stacken, as we get through halfway down the first round here. Pittsburgh at 15. Is your pick still intact for Pittsburgh?
It is. There are a lot of needs that the Pittsburgh Steelers that we need. We have an aging defense. We've lost some weapons at the wide receiver position. So it's really difficult. We're trying to weigh what the best pick would be. For us, never hurts to get some more offensive line depth either, and to help protect Big Ben Roethlisberger a little bit. So it's kind of between Eric Ebron from North Carolina, Odell Beckham Jr. from LSU, and with C.J. Mosley still on there, he's in consideration too. But we're going to take Morgan Moses, offensive tackle from Virginia.
Morgan Moses, offensive tackle. Your boys at Virginia. 15 picks in here. If you were really dedicated, you'd have a hat for every team you're picking for, and you'd wear the hat of that team.
Well, I do have multiple jerseys of teams. Let's see, out of the ones I've picked, though, I don't have an Oakland jersey or a Detroit or Pittsburgh, so I guess that really wouldn't help out at all.
You've got Michael Vick for Atlanta.
I do.
You've got. I'm not gonna take a guess here.
A Peter Warrick jersey from the Cincinnati Bengals.
I figured all those had been thrown in the dumpster somewhere by now, like those ET, NES, or Atari games they found recently.
Exactly.
There's a landful full of Peter Warrick jerseys.
I'm a fan of that jersey. I like that. Marcus Traxler, what does the big board say?
The big board is surprised that C.J. Mosley is still on the board. 15 picks in. I mean, you look at, let's see here. I don't know why the damn thing is in the way there, but, he really could have went about as early as number 5 there with Oakland. And, the Vikings are certainly a landing spot for him. I would think Detroit would be a possibility as well, even though there seems to be a desire for some sort of skill guy, either at wide receiver or defensive back for them. So I'm a little surprised that C.J. Mosley is still on the board. I don't think he'll be on the board much longer because I think for sure Baltimore will be interested in C.J. Mosley. And, Ebron, he is highly ranked here. I think that's why he's getting a little bit of notoriety. We're also going to see wide receivers pick up for sure because Odell Beckham Jr. is still on the board, Brandon Cooks, and Marquise Lee, David's guy, all still on the board. I would expect in the next 5 to 7 picks, we'll see a couple of those guys go.
Any injury concerns with C.J. Mosley?
Yeah, he had a shoulder or an arm, right? Or no?
He's had multiple injuries the last 2 years, but not sure what they were.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's worth the risk. There's risks with all these guys. I think the shoulder, or if it is a shoulder, that's the one that kind of sticks out to me. Yeah. I would say he's worth the shot. He's certainly pretty talented, and if you need somebody up the middle, I see him fitting pretty well with Baltimore at 17. Honestly, Dallas, Baltimore, New York here all would be in a market for him. I've also seen him go Arizona in some of these mock drafts, so C.J. Mosley, I would imagine, will be moving pretty soon here.
C.J. Mosley will be there for Baltimore at 17, because I'm picking for Dallas at 16. And Dallas has had trouble covering receivers for quite some time. So Denard, he's off the board. Pryor's off the board. I'm going to go Jimmy Ward, safety, Northern Illinois.
Cowboy fans everywhere just said who?
Yes. Who? I don't know. He's a secondary guy. They need a secondary guy. So that's who they're going with right now.
Very interesting.
There you go. I remember my big deal was this probably 2 years ago on the stacking program. I don't know if I picked him for New England, but it was Chandler Jones, somebody that nobody had ever heard of. And,
yes, that was
he ended up doing pretty good.
That's a very good pick on your part.
So check those tapes out. David, Baltimore at 17. Mosley is there. Is that where they go?
Full disclosure, you took my Jimmy Ward pick there at 17. That's where I had Baltimore going. So a little bit of quick research here. I'm not going linebacker because that's not a huge area of need. I'm going to take the best offensive lineman available and take Zach Martin from Notre Dame.
Okay. Zach Martin, Notre Dame, offensive lineman. The Jets, Marcus, you've got the JETSs. Who do they pick? 18.
You know, I think they're in need of a wide receiver. I think Marquise Lee is the guy who best translates to the NFL. The Jets have tried USC receivers before, most notably Keyshawn Johnson. Didn't work out that badly. We'll give it a shot here with Marquise Lee.
I love you.
The knee injury, any concerns?
No, he's healthy.
All right.
There's an unbiased opinion.
Unbiased, you ever heard one?
Ran a 4.4, about a 4.4, 4.4, 5.40, seems to be recovering well from the knee. Charlie, your hometown Dolphins, what do you got? They got Mosley. Are you wetting your chops for Mosley?
Nope, I think he's not going yet. I don't know who the Dolphins are going to take specifically, but I think one of the safest bets is that the Dolphins are going to go offensive line, being that there wasn't good before all the problems they had last year. And then you throw in Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito, who are not there anymore. They need offensive linemen like, I don't know, like Ukraine needs more Russian soldiers, I guess. So I mean, you know, and I'm looking at this. Most of the ones they'd want are gone already. So even though he didn't play great against Auburn or great against Oklahoma in the bowl game, going with Cyrus Kwanjo out of Alabama, just because they need offensive linemen more than anything else. I think he still probably could be a good NFL player. I don't think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but he gives them a body that can improve on and hopefully keep Tannehill upright.
What are the chances of my dream coming true? 4 of the 5 Dolphins offensive linemen being the Pouncey twins and the Quanjo brothers. Come on.
No. I'll give it like a 10% chance to happen someday. Why not?
We're halfway there. Nathan Stacking, Arizona at 20. Quarterback has been rumored. They've got Carson Palmer. Decent last year, decent team. 8-8, 7-9, whatever the hell they finished. They're picking 20. What do they do?
You know, inside our war room here in Glendale, really
how do you get from Dallas to Arizona in 10 minutes?
Southwest area.
Southwest. Thank you. Wow.
Is it then that makes those Star Trek teleporters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, really stunned to see Blake Bortles fall. Remember, this is a guy that at the Fiesta Bowl in our home stadium just lit up. Who they play? Baylor, I think. So he was absolutely phenomenal. So we've been fascinated with the idea of having Blake Bortles there, but lost some linebacker help, and I don't know how C.J. Mosley has fallen this far. I think we can get a good quarterback in the second round, but have to take C.J. Mosley, inside linebacker from Alabama.
You son of a bitch.
You bastard.
You had me. You have my guy. I had it typed. I have to untype it. Pick a new guy. Arizona. Stack and brought up a good point. And Bortles is still out there. How surprised are we? I forgot about him. How surprised are we that Bortles is still out there?
Extremely. Considering how many teams need a quarterback, for Bortles to be there is very, very surprising.
I think it's much more surprising that Bortles was still there up to this point than Mosley. I don't think middle linebacker is a primo position like it used to be. It's still important and you need somebody good there, but it's not, the old school, we need a big slugger at linebacker to eat up guards and make tackles when the other team runs it 40 times a game. So it's still important, but I think it's much more surprising that Bortles has fallen this far.
The big board, what do we got?
Well, I mean, like any good mock draft prognosticator, we are shocked that Blake Bortles is still on the board.
You see the Aaron Rodgers treatment in the green room.
Yeah, he's getting it. He should have stayed home with his hot girlfriend and watched from there.
She's getting a lot of camera time.
She is, yeah. She is the Lauren Tannehill of this year's draft. I mean, our guy Ebron's still on the board. I don't think there's really any other shockers here other than, Jimmy Ward. He came off here pretty quick considering where he's ranked on this board. Looks like he's in the 40s or so. But I mean, if you're looking for a guy who can play a little secondary, Jimmy Ward, small school, that's a spot where you can really shine, and that's what we've seen out of Khalil Mack too. You get more reps for sure, more run in those smaller schools. So I think that probably helps him get a little bit of notoriety now.
I have the Green Bay pick at 21. The tight end from North Carolina looks very appealing since they need a quality tight end. But I will take a linebacker from Ohio State, Ryan Shazier, for Green Bay. 22, David, Philadelphia. What do they do?
Well, looking at the board, Lebron's still available. That's probably where they're going to go. But for Axel's sake, since I don't think he's going to be there when the real draft comes on Thursday, I'm going to take Odell Beckham Jr. from LSU wide receiver.
Odell Beckham Jr. Do you believe when they said Deshaun Jackson was run out of town for football reasons? Do you believe that? Because I do not. Does anybody believe that that Jackson was run out of Philadelphia for football reasons?
No, absolutely not. It was definitely the gang affiliation thing.
Kansas City at 23, Marcus Traxler. Ricky Stanzi's not available. Where do we go here?
No Ricky Stanzi, although I'd be tempted to take him if he was still available.
Jonathan Baldwin also MIA.
Who's that?
Jonathan Baldwin, receiver Pittsburgh, not there either.
That's right, can't take him. But it seems like the big need for Kansas City, opposite Dwayne Bowe, is a wide receiver. Beckham, Lee, both off the board. That leaves Brandon Cooks, Oregon State. That's who they're going to take at receiver.
Brandon Cooks, wide receiver, Oregon State, little guy, fast guy. For a school that likes to throw it a lot, we'll go to our Pac-12 expert, Mr. Schottenkirk. What have you seen from Brandon Cooks?
This last year breakout, I really do like his game. I think it translates well to the NFL game. He gets the right quarterback. He's not incredibly big, but in the right system, I think Andy Reid could definitely have some plays in for him, and I think he's going to be a fine throw.
Charlie Hildebrand picking 24 for Cincinnati. Who will go to jail as a future Bengal?
Recently they've had some problems collegiately at this school at Missouri. I'm going with Coney Ely, the defensive end, who was opposite Michael Sam, had the best pass rushing bookends in the SEC last year. I think, Cincinnati is kind of, in a spot where they're pretty good at a lot of positions anyways. There's some positions they could use help, but, I don't know if it's a dire need anywhere, but you can always use a good edge rusher.
Fourth year for Andy Dalton. He's had more success than I thought he would, but does he need to win a playoff game this year before they start looking somewhere else?
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, they should probably start looking for him for another quarterback now to push Dalton. I wouldn't be surprised if they looked at quarterback first round.
I disagree. I don't think there's any quarterback here that I would guarantee would be better than Dalton this year. Now next year, depending on who's out there, I'd maybe agree with that, but I don't know if there's anyone here that I look at that I'd say, oh, I'm definitely positive that he's going to be better than Dalton.
No, not take Dalton this year, but for the future, push him. And then if he struggles this year, then you can go to him. I think Bortles would make a lot of sense if he somehow falls this far.
I think Bortles is probably going to go in 2 picks to Cleveland.
Nathan Stacken, Phillip Rivers needs a replacement. Where do they go?
Exactly, they're going to go Blake Bortles. No, Antonio Gates is having several injuries. Now, this was a short flight from Phoenix to San Diego, so I was able to get here in pretty fast time.
Nice.
Antonio Gates, how long does he have left? So this Eric Ebron from North Carolina certainly makes a lot of sense here. We also have a division with a quarterback. You might have heard of him. His name is Peyton Manning. He's got some very good wide receivers. So we're looking at either Ebron or Kyle Fuller from Virginia Tech. And I think we're going to take Ebron because we can keep scoring points with the Denver Broncos for now. Antonio Gates eventually will go on. I'm going to take Eric Ebron, tight end from North Carolina.
So Ebron finally goes to the Chargers. Cleveland at 26, the aforementioned Cleveland Browns, possibly taking a quarterback here. Likely to take a quarterback here. They didn't take one with their first pick, so they waited for somebody to fall. And by golly, if Blake Bortles didn't fall to Cleveland, is that who they picked? Because you had them taking Jake Matthews in the first round, number 4.
Yeah, I've got him taking Blake Bortles. I went in with Cleveland, and I know we're not doing the first pick in the 3rd round, but went in saying get a tackle, a receiver, and a quarterback in any order. And I went tackle first because Watkins was gone. Figured that you get a quarterback later, and you can go either Bridgewater or Bortles. I'm going Bortles. Like the measurables, it's a division with tough defenses. Quarterbacks are going to get beat up. I think Bridgewater could be good too, but he's a lot smaller. It gets cold. I want a guy with a big arm who can cut through the wind, and when Terrell Suggs sacks him, won't break in half. And he's got the best left tackle in the league, and he's got Jake Matthews, who's a left tackle that has experience playing right tackle at Texas A&M. So he's got the best pair of offensive linemen blocking for him in the division now too. And potentially, as long as Matthews ends up being good, could have one of the best pair of bookends in the entire NFL.
You know who's very unhappy about Blake Bortles falling this far is not Bortles, but Derek Carr, because Carr is rising up a lot of boards. He's been slated here at 26 for Cleveland, even as high as 4 to Cleveland. For whatever reason, Derek Carr's stock is really skyrocketing, and this fall by Bortles, I think, hurts Carr more so than it does Bortles, because I think Bortles will be picked in the 1st round, but this could push Carr to the 2nd.
Who ends up as the best quarterback in this draft?
For their career?
Yes.
Bortles by a landslide.
Does it matter if I ask the question next week when you know who they go to?
Yes.
Well, if Johnny Manziel goes to Oakland, then there's no way in hell he's the best quarterback.
I think it's possible if Manziel goes to the right team with a good offensive line that he could kind of catch lightning in a bottle. But I think it's much safer to say Bortles is going to be the safest. He's got a much higher floor than Johnny Manziel does, and Manziel probably won't get to his ceiling because he'll be out of the NFL with injuries by that point.
Real quick, my top 4 quarterbacks: Bortles, Bridgewater, Carr, and then Manziel.
I think the best quarterback in this draft will be Teddy Bridgewater.
Coming around after all these years. Good to see. Good to see. The big board, what does it tell us? Bortles finally goes. Ebron finally goes. Who's the big dropper here as we've got 6 picks left here in the first round?
You know, I don't think we have anybody who's dropped too far here. I mean, I'm just looking at the guys who are sort of next in line. Bridgewater feels like he's probably an end of the first round or early second round pick. Kyle Fuller, end of the first round. Jerrigan, Rashid Hageman, the Gopher, at the end of the first round as well. Louis Nix, the third. I mean, you can go right down the list. Those are all guys that are supposed to go in this vicinity. And so I guess we shouldn't be surprised too much by what we've seen. It is a little surprising to see the big gap between quarterbacks at number 7 and number 26 to this point, because that's what everybody loves to talk about before, during, and after the draft is the quarterbacks.
David has New Orleans at 27. Defense greatly improved from a year ago. It's hard not to get better than that junk from 2 years ago. Do they pick offense or do they pick defense late in the first round?
I was thinking offense coming in, but a lot of the receiver targets that they'll be going after are John, Cooks, Lee, a couple other guys. Looking at defense, kind of going off the board, there's a couple of good corners left. They'll probably be tempted to take either Kyle Fuller or Bradley Roby out of Ohio State. I'm taking defensive end D Ford from Auburn.
D Ford from Auburn. They go to New Orleans to continue to improve that defense there. Marcus, Carolina. This is a spot. They need receivers.
I'll slap if you don't take one.
Well, yeah, David said that he'd slap me if I didn't take a receiver here, and now
there's no receivers out there.
There's no receivers left. So guess what, dude? I'm not taking the damn receiver. I don't feel like this is a fair place to reach. I feel like Cody Latimer, Indiana, is a reach here. He's the next highest listed receiver. Kelvin Benjamin at Florida State, you could, I guess, seriously consider taking him, but I won't do it. I'm going to take Morgan Moses was also on the list here, but we're going to make it. Let's see here. I have to make sure he's still on the board. I don't see Jawan James. Was he taken already?
Nope.
All right, I might have to go to the second page. It looks like
you're going deep. You're doing your research there.
Yes, Jawan James, offensive tackle, Tennessee.
You bleed orange, don't you?
I'm a big Tennessee guy, yes.
I've got New England, my final first-round pick here. They're picking at 29. I really like the contrast between Oakland and New England because you don't know what either team is going to pick, but whoever Oakland picks, they're going to say, Jesus Christ, that's dumb. And whoever New England picks, they're going to say, Jesus Christ, what a genius. What a genius Belichick did. That guy, he was a 5th-round prospect. Hell, no. They're going to take him at the end of the first round, and he's going to turn into be an all-pro. So you look at New England. Let's go either Hageman from Minnesota or Louis Nix from Notre Dame. We're going to give Louis Nix the thrice from Notre Dame the nod here. Inside lineman Notre Dame. You can go there with Will Fork. Will Fork's on his last legs, it appears. So Nix, 29 to New England.
It's definitely an Achilles heel for the Patriots with the whole defensive line issues.
Badunk Chink, Nathan Stafford. It wasn't intended this way, but you've stayed on the West Coast here, so it's what it's.
Not getting the frequent flyer miles as much here now.
So it's not even 4 o'clock where you're at right now. You've had San Diego thus far, Arizona, hell of a flight from Pittsburgh, but San Francisco, good team, should be good for a long time, I think. 30th pick overall. Do they trade this pick and next year's pick for Jimmy Graham?
They have Vernon Davis still, so that might be pushing it a little bit.
Jimmy Graham's a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver.
Oh, forgive me then. Yes, then they'll absolutely go with that. No, Colin Kaepernick's really not working out for him anymore, so they're going to probably take Teddy Bridgewater here. You know what? They can always use some more, I think, defensive back depth, so they're going to take Kyle Fuller from Virginia Tech.
You mean Chris Cook isn't enough depth?
Unfortunately, he is not, and Chris Cook, with this pick, knows he is probably out of a job.
Well, that's disappointing. Speaking of the aforementioned Colin Kaepernick, really did not play well in the regular season this year at times. Stats went down. But when the playoffs come around, is he the black Eli Manning? When the playoffs are here, he's going to get it done. Regular season, he'll rely on the defense and 45-year-old Frank Gore to get it done. Thoughts on Kaepernick here, 3-4 years in?
He's a star. I think if you're San Francisco, you have to keep riding it out with him for a while until defenses prove that they can stop him. See how Kaepernick can keep taking that next step up. They need to supply him with the offensive weapons. Frank Gore is a good running back, but he might be winding down here soon. But they've got a bevy of talent there. I think Kaepernick's the right guy to lead this team.
Marcus Lattimore, chances he does anything of note next year?
Pretty decent. I think the plan's working on they wanted to. It's a matter of what he can show here in training camp and get the season started. But I think he could be a serviceable guy on third down.
We have some reader feedback regarding the draft.
Nice.
Can I guess who it is?
You may.
Do I know this person?
You know him.
Is it Drew Allen?
No.
Wyatt.
Nope.
Of the group here, who is he the closest friends with?
Everybody except David.
Shane Coop.
No.
Matt Halverson.
Don't overthink this, guys. Fellow draft expert.
Blake Day?
Blake Day all night, yes.
Larry Traxler.
Not Larry Traxler.
What's Blake have to say?
Well, Charlie, I have to say that this is directed at you. He says the Cyrus Kouandjio pick is a terrible Dolphins pick.
Oh, wow.
You would know he's a Dolphins fan.
They need offensive line, though. I didn't want to have to take him, but you guys stole all the other good ones.
Well, that's Blake Day invited, could not get him on the deal. Hopefully next week we should be able to get him on here for him to break it down. A couple picks left, but Nathan Sacken, will you have the services of Blake Day on Tuesday night?
Well, that is the plan right now. It sounds like Blake will be on for at least part of the show. We'll go through mock draft again. You'll be part of this as well. Anyone else who wants to call in is more than welcome to. But yes, we'll get his analysis, his final mock draft on Tuesday's show at the Sports Block from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time on 90.7 KSTJ and KSTJRadio.com.
Perfect.
Thanks for letting me plug that.
Yes. For the one viewer, I don't know, the one viewer, who the hell knows who that is. Everybody got 6 picks. David and Nathan won a lottery beforehand with ping pong balls. David Stern looked at that. He said that was okay. So you get the AFC winner, Denver. David. Denver Broncos, number 31.
A whole bunch of different directions they can go here. Looking at cornerback, maybe Bradley Roby, Ohio State again. I think he's going to be gone someplace in the first round. I'm not taking him, though. My guy I had slated for this was Ryan Shazier that Travis took at 21 to Green Bay. He's long gone. Looking again, we're going to go with Kyle Van Noy, linebacker, BYU. I think he has the potential to be the best linebacker in this draft. I think the biggest playmaker right away as well on that defense. Be a great pick for him at 31.
Another second page guy here on the big board.
Not a sexy pick, but opposite Von Miller, he could be pretty good.
Nathan Stacken, you have the honors, Mr. Irrelevant, not of not the final pick of the last round, but the final pick of our draft.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The defense is really good, but why not add a little more depth to that defensive line? The Seattle Seahawks will be very happy that Rashid Hagman from Minnesota falls to them at 32.
Somebody from Minnesota going to Seattle. Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
It's that Minnesota-Seattle pipeline. We just know it keeps happening.
If he falls to 32, they might as well just walk at the next 2 Super Bowl trophies. There's no way he falls to 32. That's a great pick for him.
That concludes our mock draft here. Guys fell. Guys definitely fell. Hagman fell. Who else fell here? Blake Bortles definitely fell. Ebron fell all the way to 25 to San Diego. Mosley, yeah, we'll see. 20. See where he goes. Obviously you can recap on the Sports Lounge Twitter. At TSL Sports Lounge Tractor's been updating that. So you can see all of the picks there. I'm sure we'll post them on the Facebook. And if you missed any of the show, you can watch it again on YouTube for as long as you want and as many times as you want. Anything as you look at the list, from what you remember, anybody that you're like, boy, that's a shoddy pick. I don't like that pick at all.
I think based on how, again, it entirely based on how it goes, but if Anthony Barr, or if Blake Bortles is still there at 8 for the Vikings, I just don't see how they can take Anthony Barr there. I think they're going to go quarterback there. Again, it's a deep draft. You could get someone in the second round, but Blake Bortles has the highest ceiling out of from a lot of analysts here. He has the highest ceiling, so they saw what he did in the Fiesta Bowl. I would think that the Vikings would take Bortles at 8.
The one that stands out the most to me is the Raiders taking Khalil Mack, because that's a good pick, and we all know that they're not going to make a good pick. It's going to be someone that everyone like Travis said, you'll say, what the hell are these guys doing? Why are they even in the NFL?
Same thing with Dallas, too. Dallas in recent years makes the pick like, hey, what the hell? Like, what was it, Travis Frederick from Wisconsin last year? A guy who was a second. Some people had him ranked in the 3rd round, so and they took him in the in the 1st round. So Dallas will probably have a head scratcher as well.
I think it might be more likely that the Oakland Raiders take Tyler Starr 5 overall instead of Khalil Mack.
Some feedback from Blake Day on the pick, because I did mention to blame Charlie Hildebrand for that pick at number 19 for Miami. He said C.J. Mosley, Shazier, or even Ja'Wan James, based on how the board fell, would have been picks there for Miami.
Other than C.J. Mosley, I'd agree with that. And maybe this is just me being stubborn, but I wouldn't spend a 1st-round pick on an inside linebacker almost ever with the way that the NFL goes now. You can get an inside linebacker in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th round. It's the running back of defense positions now.
For me, I got 2 picks that stand out. They're kind of off the radar as far as the best pick, in my opinion, value-wise, and the worst pick. The best pick for me is Aaron Donald, Marcus with the Giants at 12. I think that's an absolute surefire all-pro guy in the future. He's going to fit in well in that system. I love that pick. I think he goes higher than that. I think he might go potentially 7 to Tampa. He might even Buffalo's looking at a guy like that. There's a lot of 4 different places. And the worst pick, in my opinion, value-wise, is Morgan Moses at 15. I think that's too high. The scouts love him. I'm not sold. There's a couple of tackles that could have won before him there at 15 to steal it.
As Nathan mentioned, Travis Frederick, the center from Wisconsin, and Dallas got a lot of flack last year for taking him. It was a need, they needed him, and according to the guys at Pro Football Focus, he was the 7th best center last year. So regardless of if he was a 2nd or 3rd round guy, if you pick him and he turns out well in the 1st round, I think you have to be good with that. And 1 year down, so far so good for Dallas. When you look at the draft, Clowney's going 1. David St. Louis, fairly confident. Robinson, obviously you picked him. Fairly confident he goes 2.
Yeah, I am. I was incredibly confident until the last week or two. I was seeing picking up that they're thinking about taking Watkins there, trading out of that. But it would be probably 80% likely that they take Robinson, in my opinion.
Is there a team here that you say, okay, this team, we don't know what's going to happen? Or this is a team that's going to screw up everybody's predictions?
For me, it's Houston. I think they trade out of that pick. I think Atlanta comes up and gets Clowney. I think it happens.
Is that a smart move for Atlanta?
No, probably not. If they give up as much as they did for that Julio Jones trade or more, there'd probably have to be more. I think Houston could end up with that pick, the top of the second round, and probably another second rounder, and maybe a first or second round next year, which would be crazy good for them. If the board breaks as it does too, they could end up with Houston at 6, getting somebody where they want, and then at the top of the second round, getting a guy like Teddy Bridgewater. I think that would be perfect for them.
The quarterbacks. Who's the first quarterback taken? Marcus Traxler.
First quarterback, I would be surprised if it's. I really think it should be Johnny Manziel. Yeah, I think Jacksonville. I mean, picks 3 through 5 all are in the market for a quarterback. Tampa Bay at 7 as it went here. 8 for Anthony Barr. So there's 5 picks in the first 8 that could take a quarterback. And quite honestly, Bortles, Derek Carr, and Johnny Manziel could all be gone in those first 8 picks. No problem.
I could really see Derek Carr, be a surprise pick and be the first quarterback taken from the draft. His stock out of any quarterback really seems to be rising the most, at least in the last week.
I think Manziel will probably go first, and even though teams shouldn't draft this way, if it's a team that needs to sell tickets, Manziel's going to be the guy that'll get people the most excited to buy season tickets and luxury box suites and all stuff like that. Now, certainly you shouldn't draft guys based on just a way to get some extra tickets. You should try to do it for success in the future, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Jaguars took Manziel. I think Cleveland, it wouldn't surprise me if they did either. Certainly it wouldn't, or Oakland. I think he's the most likely to go first.
I'd be rather surprised if it wasn't Johnny. Football, like Bortles, is a certain possibility, but the way we have it, there's only 2 quarterbacks going in the entire first round. I think if that's the case and Bortles falls, which I don't think he will that far, but there's going to be a team or 2 to trade back in at the end of the first. You get a Bridgewater and a Carr. I don't think there's any way we get through Thursday night. There's only 2 quarterbacks off the board.
3, I got it at 3. I think Carr or Bridgewater, one of those 2 will get picked late in the first round, one will fall to the second and get picked early. What's going to be the storyline? Obviously, Johnny Manziel for that first hour until he's picked, that's going to be the big deal. What do you expect to be the storyline? David mentioned if Atlanta would trade up, that would be a big deal. But what do you expect to, Tebow was a big story when he was picked. Some of your trades are a big deal. What do you expect to be the big storyline? The Vikings were a big deal getting 3 first-round picks. What's it going to be on Thursday?
I don't know specifically, but it seems to me that usually what happens in most drafts is somewhere between 4, 5, and 6. Someone always, whether it's because somebody trades up or someone just likes somebody different, someone always goes way out of the slot, 10 spots away from where everyone thought they were going to go. And then that just changes everything down the line after that. And I mean, I can't give you a great example of who that could be. I mean, if you make me say, I'd probably say Oakland. But that someone will do something which will then leave the guy that they thought they would take for the next team, and it'll just create this ripple effect that changes everything. And it'll probably be because somebody trades up to do it.
Story for me that's going to pick up steam that's incredibly interesting. I have bought into it. I was thinking about the last couple months before you brought out into the focus of attention is Dallas, and if Manziel's there at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, them moving up to get Johnny Manziel, I would not be shocked in the ways Jerry Jones pulls that trigger. If Manziel gets by Oakland, I expect Dallas to at least try to make a move and jump up and get him.
I think Cleveland could be the biggest players in this draft. Or in the first round. We're either going to be talking about them doing an excellent job moving the team forward, or if they reach for someone at 4 with the quarterback pick, and then some of these wide receivers don't pan out the way they do, we could be talking about them setting their franchise back quite a few years. The best case scenario for them would be to have Sammy Watkins fall to them at 4, and then get someone like Blake Bortles or Derek Carr at 26.
How good would Sammy Watkins and Josh Gordon be together?
Unstoppable.
Somebody throw the ball.
They would win at least 6
maybe.
games.
I think they could be good, but this is the fun thing, is that receiver's one of the iffiest positions to draft. I mean, everyone was confident Justin Blackmon was going to be one of the 5 best receivers in the NFL, and he sucks. Almost every Lions receiver, not named Calvin Johnson, was one of the best in the draft. Roy Williams was one of the best in the draft. Everyone thought Charles Rogers was going to be great for 15 years. And it's just that there's so many things that go into it. And it seems like, to me, quarterback and receiver over the last 10 or 15 years, and maybe defensive line, seem to kind of be like the highest bust potential, where guys come in and you can see that they're really talented, and then things just don't work, and 5 years later they're out of the NFL.
Who inducts Charles Rogers into the Hall of Fame in 2022? Matt Millen?
Whoever his drug dealer at the time is.
So Jamarcus Russell, induction, get done. Marcus Straxler, man in the big board. You had a thing up there. What was that thing? You had mock drafts from fan voting.
Yeah, let me pull that up here.
Yeah, what do we got here? Who's left in the beginning of the second round? And how does our mock draft stack up to those experts?
I don't have the board that we are done with. Actually, I might. I'll have to pull that. But I have the fan voting. This is ESPN and their Sports Nation. We're on the same board there with the first 2 picks, but then they have Blake Bortles and their expert taking them at number 3, Jacksonville. I mean, that just really didn't seem to be an option. It seemed like if Jacksonville was going to take a quarterback, it would be Manziel at number 3. So that would be interesting if they were to really take Blake Bortles. And then you'd have Nathan Stacken's dream scenario for Cleveland, where they'd get Sammy Watkins at number 4. And it seems like we've come through this a lot with Cleveland recently, where they've had really some good first rounds, and it hasn't netted too much. But if they were to get Watkins and a quarterback later in the first round, that would be quite the win. Let's see. I mean, they have the Vikings taking Bridgewater at number 8. I mean, him being the second quarterback off the board would be quite the pick. Obviously, C.J. Mosley went much earlier in this draft as well. I don't know if there's anything else you guys see there, but
I said it before with just regards to Cleveland, but I really think that them and the Bengals can take over first and second in the AFC North in the not-too-distant future. Of course, we've seen Cincinnati win the division a few times, but Marvin Lewis has done a great job there. Pittsburgh, to me, is going to be kind of faltering in that 3rd or 4th spot in the division for a while, just because they're older and they're losing key guys at wide receiver. I just don't trust them a whole lot, and Baltimore is kind of up in the air with me too. But Cleveland, if they can hit a home run with the defense that they have, they got Ben Tate at running back. Of course, we know about Josh Gordon. If he can stay out of trouble, he will be just fine. They're a couple of players away from being really competitive for that AFC North crown.
I know I'm about as indifferent with Cleveland as you can be, and I'm sure you guys all have other second or third favorite teams or teams you kind of follow. Because let's face it, the Dolphins and the Vikings haven't been great the last couple of years. But if Cleveland gets this draft right, I could see myself kind of following Cleveland.
Our picks match up. 5 of the 32 picks match up with what the rest of America has. I think I can speak for myself. If we get 5 picks right, the order and the team, I'd be pretty happy with that. I know that traditionally it's pretty difficult to get more than a handful right.
Last year, I think I got 7 of the first 10 players in the correct slot.
You took a year off your life just to get those 7 of those first 10.
Yes, yeah.
Amazing.
Made a deal with the devil.
Amazing how that happened. Everybody made fun of Cleveland for trading their starting running back, Trent Richardson, the yogurt fortune heir, to Indianapolis for their first-round pick, saying, what in the hell are you doing? Colts are good. They're going to have a late first-round pick. It ended up being number 26. Trent Richardson is no good. So was that pick not as bad? Is that trade not as bad as everybody thought it was 8 months ago?
It looks pretty good now. I mean, taking a guy that was drafted in the first round and hasn't panned out for either place. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I suppose it's possible he could end up being good in Indianapolis, but right now it looks like a genius move. And the only way it doesn't work at all is if whoever they get at 26 is just awful.
With Donald Brown in San Diego, the Colts are going to rely on Trent Richardson a lot more. I expect him to have a bigger and better year this year before I can officially call him a bust.
I'll ask this question next week when we know where these guys go. Give me 2-3 guys that you will say these are the guys that will be the best coming out of this thing, and give me 2 or 3 guys that you say won't amount to hell in a handbasket. David Schottenkirk, start with you.
I think the 2 most surefire guys in this draft are probably Jadeveon Clowney, and I'm going to go Jake Matthews from A&M offensive tackle. I think Robinson's also in discussion. Watkins is probably there. I think there's 4 guys that are basically can't miss unless something goes wrong and they get hurt right away. On the flip side, I think the 2 biggest busts in the draft, one's going to have to be Manziel. I put him at 7 with Tampa. Don't like him at all. Already compared him to Jeff Garcia, and I'm sticking by that. And I might look like the biggest jackass alive for 5 years, but that's a different story. And my other biggest boss, probably, I'm going to say Khalil Mack. I'm not sold.
I think Greg Robinson will be a very good player in this league. I think regardless of where he goes, I think Mike Evans has some potential, even though he's had some indiscretions in the past. I'm not real crazy about a couple of these people. I guess I would have to agree with Khalil Mack, just simply because if he were to end up in Oakland, like we mentioned, it could be an uphill climb. And I'll say that Clinton-Dix will not do well in the NFL.
There have been a lot of Alabama guys that haven't done well in the NFL, but on the Khalil Mack point, typically it seems like outside linebacker is kind of more of a safe position. But ever since Aaron Curry out of Wake Forest, I don't know, that was 4 or 5 years ago, he seemed like the safest, not the highest, going to be the best ever, but like the safest defensive player in 4 or 5 years. And he was. I mean, I don't want to say he was awful, but he was like as bland, mediocre.
No,
he was not
stood
good.
out or did anything. And I don't even know if he's in the NFL anymore now.
He still is.
And if somebody like that, it can happen to. I mean, I think there's a good chance Khalil Mack will be good, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if 4 years from now everyone's like, why did we ever think this guy out of Buffalo in the Mac was going to be any good?
Nathan Stackett.
Yeah, I think the slam dunk Hall of Fame player in this class. Okay, maybe that's going a little far, but
whoa!
There's no such thing as a slam dunk.
You wouldn't be surprised if this guy's a slam dunk All-Pro.
Exactly right. I think it's Jake Matthews. I think he's the best player in the draft. He's got the pedigree. Was his uncle or his father was Bruce Matthews, great offensive lineman for the Tennessee Titans, Houston Oilers franchise. I think he's going to be the best out of this group. I think he's just got the talent, the moxie, the mind, everything to be that player. Maybe a couple other guys that probably will fail a little bit. That's Cyrus Quanjo from Alabama. if he can't lose some weight and stay healthy. And then, I don't know, a lot of people are really jumping on Odell Beckham Jr. I hope I'm wrong. I think he could be very good, but just watching LSU play, granted, it was different under Cam Cameron this year, but I think one of the reasons why I have reservations on Zach Mettenberger is because of this one good year with Cam Cameron, so I'm a little leery of Odell Beckham.
Well, Jadeveon Clowney. Okay, Clemson, go.
Actually, I was going to talk about Clowney too. I mean, and I'm going to preface this with I think he's probably going to be pretty good, and he'll probably be in the NFL for a long time and make a lot of money and make multiple Pro Bowls. And he's probably the most talented defensive end, or one of the three most of the last 15 years, along with Mario Williams and Julius Peppers. But I think it's worth noting that if you're going to Houston, where they're going to run a 3-4, he's not a 3-4 defensive end. You could try to put him there. I don't think he's going to like it. I don't think he wants to eat up blocks like J.J. Watt. You could put him at outside linebacker, and he could be great as an outside linebacker, but there's also lots of guys that can't transition from putting their hand in the dirt to standing up and occasionally dropping into coverage. So I think that he will probably be fine. It's possible that you mix the scheme they're running with maybe not the best work ethic and taking plays off, that he might not be good, but I think he's probably going to be a guy that, 10 years from now will have probably made 5 or 6 Pro Bowls.
That's the exact reason why I think Houston trades out of that pick.
Will he be better than Williams? I think he'll be exactly the same.
He's going to be better than Williams. Yep. He's going to be Julius Peppers reincarnated.
Yep.
I think the point about Atlanta makes a lot of sense. I think he would fit in Atlanta perfectly. I mean, it's already in the South in the first place. I don't know.
He wants to go there.
I don't know how far Columbia is from Atlanta, but it's certainly a lot closer than Houston.
Not that far.
And he's a 4-3 speed rush defensive end. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to do shit ever except put his hand in the ground and try to get after the quarterback and get sacks.
Yep.
Don't ever ask him to do anything else as a 4-3 edge rusher. And I think if he goes somewhere like that, I think then really he's going to be phenomenally good. But don't try to, make him something he's not. And then when it doesn't quite work out right, say, wow, I guess he wasn't any good after all. Like the Bills or whoever it was, trying to let's have Mario Williams at 280 pounds be an outside linebacker.
From Williams-Brice Stadium to Georgia Dome is 3 hours and 14 minutes, 218 miles.
That's not very far.
Can I assume that he's a bad driver then if he goes to Atlanta?
He's already got like 7 speeding tickets, so we know he's a bad driver.
You make enough money, get a guy to drive you around wherever the hell you want to go.
Especially if there's a snowstorm in Atlanta.
And on that note, does anybody really think that these NFL teams don't have guys that they're like, you know what? If you want to go out and get hammered or stoned or whatever, go ahead and do it. Call one of us to drive you home, though. I'm sure they've got 5 or 6 interns that they could call at 2 in the morning and be like, you need to pick up this guy, or you're not going to have a job here.
The NFL Players Association has a service that they have specifically for the players, that they have a number to call that can come get a ride. They have it set up. The players are just too stupid to use it. Probably because they're drinking.
Yeah, if any player gets picked up for that, they're dumb because there's no reason to. You make too much money, and it's just dumb, like we said. I like Manziel to be the guy. Sammy Watkins, if he goes to Cleveland, I like that. If he goes to Jacksonville, I don't like that as much. So we'll revisit that next week. Clowney, I just assume he'll be Mario Williams. Guy I don't like, Blake Bortles, we know about that. Guy at the top of the draft, we'll say Greg Robinson won't amount to shit. And those are my 3, 4, 5 guys that I like and that I don't like. We'll get to the Vikings here after Hildebrand. Miami, any guy that you would really like Miami to pick?
An offensive lineman, just because that's what they really need. I mean, in general, they could use another defensive end or an edge rusher besides Cameron Wake. I don't know if I really trust that Deion Jordan can complete the conversion from tight end to defensive end. But I mean, and I suppose you could use another receiving weapon beside to help Mike Wallace. I just think they need offensive line more than anything else. I mean, I don't think they've got some holes. I don't think they've got glaring holes like teams picking in the top 10, except on the offensive line. And as a former offensive lineman, I'm just always partial to drafting offensive linemen.
As a former kicker, I'm partial to the kicker. Neither of those are true. Johnny Manziel, I have him. I'll say he goes to 3, 4, 5. You look at that. If he gets past that, like David said, all hell breaks loose with the trades. I'm going to say Cleveland takes a chance on him. He goes to Cleveland. Where does he go? Johnny Manziel. Where does he end up?
I don't think he makes it past 5. I would say Cleveland. If not Cleveland, Oakland.
I think Cleveland probably should do what I said, what I had him doing. But if Watkins isn't there, I think they're probably going to go with Manziel.
I don't think he gets past 8, either to the Vikings or someone trading. Drafting with the Vikings. Maybe the Vikings send out those feelers that, we really like him, and see what team like the Dallas Cowboys will take the bait.
I think I said this once before, like a month or so ago. I think the best thing for Manziel would be to have him fall past 10, 11, 12, and go to the middle or end of the first round, and kind of have the Aaron Rodgers, Randy Moss thing, and be pissed and upset that everyone passed on him. Have a chip on his shoulder, go out to prove something, and really, work to get better. I think going in the top 5 and having him just be the franchise savior, the guy that you're going to say, hey, you need to fix all our problems. I don't know if that'll work well for him or whoever drafts him, if that's the case.
Who do the Vikings pick?
I don't think the Vikings will be picking at number 8. I think there's going to be demand for somebody. They'll be able to move out of that pick and move down some. And I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but it seems that kind of seems like what will happen.
I agree. I think they're going to try and trade down, but then trading down, they're also going to try and trade back up into that first round and get a second pick, like they did last year, getting that third first rounder. I think the Vikings will come out of Thursday night with 2 first-round draft picks.
It's definitely possible. I don't think it's going to be awfully tough after what they pulled off last year to do something similar. I think if they said 8, it might be Bortles, which me personally I'd be perfectly fine with. If they trade back, I still think they can get Anthony Barr some more in the teams. Barr is one of the most interesting guys to me. Marcus had him in a mock draft selected by the Vikings. I would love it. But he didn't play defense until his junior year at college, and all of a sudden he's this surefire thing. I love him, but he absolutely has a boom and bust potential.
I mean, I will say that I think it's fine if they take Blake Bortles. I'm just not sure at number 8 that's the place to take him. Right. I honestly think the Vikings might be a little gun-shy about taking a quarterback with the first pick, around pick number 12 where they got burned with Ponder. So I wouldn't be surprised if they come back into the first round like we talked about and taking a quarterback there.
I think
Since I'm here with... Oh, go ahead.
I think the Vikes take quarterback round 2 or round 3. I think the 2 guys they're looking at mainly are Zach Bettenberger, or later on round 4 maybe, and Aaron Murray. Everyone's been hot on him the last 2 weeks. And in round 3 or 4, I would love Aaron Murray.
I would too. He was awesome at Georgia pretty much his entire career. What he set SEC passing records and everything. If the Vikings got Aaron Murray, I would be absolutely stoked. I think he is going to have a great career in the NFL.
He could. He never won any big games at Georgia, though, except LSU last year. But anyway, I was just going to say, since I'm here with 4 Vikings fans, and instead of what specific guy, what are just the 2 or 3 positions you think the Vikings should look to fill instead of a specific guy?
Quarterback, secondary, linebacker.
Linebacker's the one that's got to get resolved in this draft. I think
Aaron Henderson's too good, though. He's off pills. He's off the press. He's off shooting himself. What? You don't want that? You got to re-sign him, don't you? Come on.
Did he shoot himself and I missed that?
No, isn't he all depressed and on pills and?
I think he might be. To me, the linebacker thing has been something they've put off way too long since Greg Biekert was signed. So I think it's time to shore that up and actually draft a guy. I would prefer in the first round a guy like C.J. Mosley would be fine if they could seal up the middle of the defense a little bit, or an Anthony Barr on the outside. I'd be really happy with that. I really would be fine with them taking a Justin Gilbert, but they've sort of solved some of the cornerback issues, even though they need more depth. And I think cornerback is something they have to address in the middle rounds, most importantly.
I agree. I think linebacker and secondary are the two biggest, but I also think running back shouldn't be overlooked.
No. Running back.
Listen here. Because with Toby Gerhardt in Jacksonville, they need a solid backup. Mike Asiati is not going to do it. I would love to see them try and get a Terrence West from Towson in the third round.
Okay. All right.
Carlos Hyde, Ohio State, round 3. Sweet one.
Yeah, if Hyde's still there in round 3, that'd be a steal for whoever could get him then.
I'm not saying take it in the first or even the second round, but I think they need to try and get someone in the middle to later rounds, and I think West or Hyde would be absolutely great.
I mean, the only thing I have to say there is that, go in with the mindset of running back is not the most important thing in any draft.
No.
Because you can get guys who are good in round 5, round 6. You see that all the time. It seems like there's less of a gap between, the number 1 running back in the league and the number 20 running back in the league and where they were drafted. You'll see that they're drafted all over the board.
I'm gonna say I agree. Vikings trade down, get 2. They're gonna pick twice in the first round. Give me Clinton-Dix. Love the name. Put him at safety with Harrison Smith. Get that thing done and finished. And Shazier, linebacker, Ohio State, that's their second pick. Give me those 2 guys. Vikings, 1 pick, 2 picks, 7 first-round picks. Those are my 2 guys, so I think they're going to end up with. Who are your guys that you think they're going to end up with?
Anthony Barr. That's the guy David's got me hooked on Anthony Barr. I think Anthony Barr is the guy they need to come away from this draft with. And I think my strategy's been pretty clearly laid out now a couple times by me. Defense early and then come back, and preferably linebacker early and come back and get a quarterback if you really want one later.
Yeah, for me, it's Anthony Barr. There's another guy I haven't mentioned for the Vikings, and I don't think anybody has. They showed up their defensive line, the defensive back position with Floyd. They got Linval Joseph in free agency. They are incredibly high on Aaron Donald. I would not be surprised if that's the pick. If they move back or they take him even at 8, that wouldn't shock me. I think they take Barr once all said and done.
If they keep 8, they take Bortles, assuming Manziel is off the board. But if they trade down, I look at them taking and then getting 2 first-round picks. I look at them taking someone like C.J. Mosley and Anthony Barr, as has been mentioned, and then along the defensive line, or trading up and getting that Justin Verrett from TCU, or I think Rashid Hageman from Minnesota. They could trade with New England. They've done it before. Denver's another possibility. Try and get in there. Those are probably the 2 guys that they would target if they get a second first round pick.
I think the defensive line thing's been pretty well solved through free agency and otherwise. Yeah, you always want the depth, but I think that's a lower priority than say a linebacker or even defensive back.
I agree, but with Zimmer, he loves his D linemen, so like I said, I wouldn't be shocked to get another one.
And if the MO of this draft is shoring up the defense for the Vikings, I'm all for that, because I still think if they come out of this, I don't see any scenario where Matt Castle isn't your starter, at least in week 1. And if there's if you work in the quarterback or whatever you got to do, I'm not against having Matt Castle being the quarterback for the year.
If Johnny Manziel is there at 8 and Minnesota picks at 8, does he go to Minnesota? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Nathan Stacken.
I say no. I bet they go somewhere else.
I'm with Nathan Stacken. They pissed me off very much. I want this guy very much. I would be very pleased to have him on my favorite team, but I do not expect them to pick him if he is there.
Now, is this between just Manziel and is Bortles on the board at this point too? Because I could see him taking Bortles over Manziel.
Just Manziel, they're 8 Vikings. That's the only criteria. So I don't know.
I'm not a Vikings guy. I would normally lean towards that. Yes, they would take Manziel.
If they don't trade, yes.
Zimmer is a defensive guy, though. I think Zimmer's going to go defense.
Let me say this though: Zimmer, being a first-year head coach, he's already said and has said publicly too in press conferences, he's not going to be afraid to lay back and let Spielman do this draft. He said that multiple times, so I don't think he's going to have that much influence when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. So Spielman might have a chance to get his quarterback and redeem himself in the market.
And Spielman has done very good in building this Vikings roster since he has taken over. He's had some absolutely great drafts. The one blemish is the fact that he still can't find a franchise quarterback, which makes this increasingly important. Or if he can get another year, next year's quarterback class is awfully good too.
Well, you got to
I'm a Dolphins fan. Trust me, I know what it's like when you don't have a franchise quarterback and the problems that creates.
Final draft-related question as far as who gets picked where. We all assume the Vikings will take a quarterback. Who will that quarterback be?
I think gun to my head, the pick would be Blake Bortles. I think if they were going to pick anybody, I think that's who it'll be.
Unfortunately, I think they're going to take Zach Mettenberger, but I would really like to see them, if they don't take a quarterback in the first round, take Aaron Murray.
I'm with Stacken.
I think, say Charlie.
I was just going to say, I think they're going to get a quarterback in the second round, and it's going to be either Teddy Bridgewater or Derek Carr. Although I think Mettenberger or Murray makes a lot of sense, too.
I'm going to go second-round quarterback, Zach Mettenberger, Aaron Murray, Christian Ponder clone as far as I'm concerned, so I don't like that. Taj Boyd, 6th-round pick. That's who I want.
All right. Deal.
That's only if you draft Martavis Bryant to go with him, though, too.
That's fine. I'll take the risk.
I didn't mention that, but that's how the Jaguars are going to solve their quarterback issues. They're going to get Sammy Watkins at number 3, and then they're going to come back, get Taj Boyd in the 6th round, and it's going to be the old Dabo Sweeney run and shoot. Go Clemson.
They beat Ohio State doing it. Why couldn't they beat the Texans or anybody else in the NFL, right?
I can't see why not.
There's no difference between Ohio State and an NFL team.
No. And just for historical purposes, I will run down a mock draft here 1 year before and give you the first 10, 12 names, and maybe we'll have some fun and come back to that a year later and see what will happen to these guys, obviously pending if these guys come out or not. Marcus Mariota, quarterback, Oregon. Jameis Winston, quarterback, Florida State. Randy Gregory, defensive end for Nebraska. Amari Cooper, wide receiver, Alabama. Cedric Ogilvie, whatever the hell his name is, tackle, offensive tackle, Texas A&M. Leonard Williams, defensive end, USC. P.J. Williams, cornerback, Florida State. Andres Pete, offensive tackle, Stanford. Gurley, running back, Georgia. Bryce Petty, this guy's got Bryce Petty going 11 to Minnesota. No, thank you. Cameron Irving, offensive tackle, Florida State. Any of those guys that you think, yeah, they're going to be there. I'm sure everybody will be on Marcus Mariota. And I'm sure some of these guys much like Taj Boyd, a top 10 pick a year ago, may go in the 5th round this year.
Maybe if the Rams and Bradford doesn't work out, maybe Mariota will go into the Rams and just have everything there he needs in the first place already, or any other quarterback listed.
Leonard Williams for me. I know USC guy, go ahead and make fun, but if he stays healthy, he's a surefire top 10 pick next year.
They've got Gurley going, I believe, 10 to Miami. Do you expect Jameis Winston to come out next year?
No.
If he has a similar year to what he had last year, doesn't siphon gas from an RV, something like that.
If he steals more crab legs, he won't have any choice but to declare.
Yeah, I think he's going to come out, not necessarily because it's what he wants to do or what he should do, but I think he's going to keep making bad decisions, and is just going to kind of be told, you might as well just leave because I don't know if we want you at Florida State anymore.
So Brett Hundley, quarterback UCLA, Yeldon, the running back from Alabama. Notables that are expected to be your first-round picks 1 year before they may actually be picked. Draft 4 days away on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I usually watch ESPN. They have Ray Lewis doing it this year. I'm not a fan. I may give the NFL Network a try here, but I assume Deion Sanders will be on that, and I'm not a fan of that either. So when you watch the draft, I mean every guy they pick is usually they say, oh, the John Gruden treatment, great fit. This guy's going to be great. How do you like to watch the draft? Are you an ESPN guy? Does the NFL Network emergence in the last 10 years, do you flip back and forth? Who do you like? Do you like Mel Kiper? I assume we all hate Todd McShay because everybody does.
Yeah, I think Blake Day could run circles around Todd McShay. I'm all about Mel Kiper Jr., and so I will watch ESPN, though. With John Gruden up there slurping everyone, it does make it a little more difficult to watch.
I will be watching it on my computer because I work Thursdays and Friday nights at the paper. If I wasn't working, normally I'm an ESPN guy. I'd go with NFL Network because I don't like Ray Lewis, though. And I don't have the same disdain for Deion Sanders. I mean, I don't love Deion Sanders, but I don't have a problem with him. And any time we can get a Leon Sandcastle reference, I'd like that.
I support that, yeah. Leon Sandcastle's a good choice. I normally am ESPN just because that's a little easier to get. You can count on basically every cable package having ESPN. I do like Mike Mayock more than I like Kiper and McShay, just because Kiper's kind of become an asshole since McShay came around, and so then you have the two of them fighting. It's like, I just would like to know who you think is better. Could you stop fighting with each other? But you can't always get that. And I don't like Ray Lewis. I mean, I don't like the guys that they just throw on these panels. Marshall Faulk's another guy who I know he didn't watch any goddamn tape of, whoever. Mike, really. So I guess I really did like ESPN, when they had just last year when they had Gruden and Kiper, and then you put up with Berman. I think less is more with the draft, and if you have people who really know what they're talking about, that can pay off. But it doesn't seem like ESPN's trying that this year.
And they're not tipping the picks again this year. Both the NFL Network and ESPN will not be doing that. They've agreed to it with the NFL, so that'll be at least better for viewership.
That'll last about 5 days.
Yeah.
I wish they would always do it that way, though, because
they did it pretty good last year.
Like, with the first couple of years I watched it, that was always my favorite thing, is you'd never know. And then I remember when they started doing that, it kind of made it less fun for me.
There's still gonna be the people from CBS, and I don't know.
Jay Glazer.
I don't know if Jay Glazer's back is healed yet, but
if I'm Jay Glazer, I'm tweeting picks whenever the hell I get them.
Yep.
Screw everybody else. If I know who the hell's getting picked, I'm doing it.
I won't be on Twitter that night.
Yeah, if I don't have the rights to the draft, I'm gonna tweet every pick I've got.
All right, enjoy the draft. Some terrific NBA playoffs just got done. We'll touch on that next week. NHL playoffs continue as well. We'll see if we can get Blake Day on to see what he has to say next week on how everything goes down. Nathan Stacken, I'll end it with you. Another draft show coming up 48 hours from now. If people want to listen, where can they listen?
Yep.
4-hour show, I hear. 4 hours?
Unfortunately, no. We'll be doing the same 2-hour block that we've done all this year. 6 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday night. That's 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time on 90.7 KSDJ. And you can also listen live on ksdjradio.com. We'll have plenty of guests.
Central Time,
Go pick by pick for the first round.
So it's 6 o'clock Central Time, which
Yes.
is noon Hawaiian, 11 Hawaiian.
I think it's 2 o'clock Hawaiian.
No.
4 hours difference?
It's 2 or 1. It's 1 or 2. It's not.
5-hour difference?
I think it's 1.
It depends on the time zone change when we set the clock. So Sperm ahead. I think it's only 4 now. It used to be 5 when we set them back. Spring ahead, it's 4.
I believe it's 2 a.m. Rome time.
Nice.
And what's that in the Ukraine?
In the Ukraine, it doesn't matter. It's Russia's time in the Ukraine now.
That's exactly right.
4. Marcus Straxler ran the big board and the Twitter quite spectacularly tonight. David John-Kirk, Long Beach State, go Bulls. Nathan Stacken, I know they're the dirtbags, but everybody's the Bulls to me. Nathan Stacken, Charlie Hildebrand, Mr. Tiger. I'm Travis Kriens. This has been the 2014 edition of the Sports Lounge NFL Mock Draft. We'll see all of you. Actually, we won't see anybody, but you'll see us next week right here inside the Sports Lounge.
Inside!